what was the original idea of Slack? What were they doing earlier?
No, I don't have it.
Not entirely, but to
Not
an extent, I
entirely.
mean, yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah. So if you see, right, Slack was actually a gaming company. Okay. So they they were not doing great. Okay. So after spending a lot of time, they were not doing great. So there were no revenues and all. They were about to shut the shop. So that's when they looked into the products that they have developed internally. Okay. And one of the product that they found was a communications product. Okay. That's an internal product which they use to communicate within the teams. Right. So then they started developing that product as a main product. Okay. So that's when the Slack came out. Okay. So initially it was a gaming company, but later it became a collaboration and communication tool, which they developed for internal purposes. Became the product, a successful product. Okay, this was not the original product that they built. So if you see here, right? So when somebody likes your product, right? So you don't have to push, tell them that use this product. Okay, so users love and they recommend the product. Nobody, nobody have told you to use ChatGPT, right? So people love it because you don't have to use your brain, right? So the tasks which are mundane and which were very intellectual now becomes easier for us, right? So we don't have to worry about this. So the product um, the outcome of the product, like so what we take away, right? So as a customer, it is very high, right? So that's why we we naturally share. We ask people to use that and the retention, right? So there will be high retention with the products which people love and customers are willing to pay. So people will be ready to pay for it, right? So that is when you consider that it has hit their market fit. Okay. Any examples that you can give where a product which has hit a market fit, where a product which didn't had a great market fit? There can be one example which is Slack, right? So WhatsApp, Telegram. So these are the products which had a great market fit and which scaled within no time. Okay,
Dropbox.
but yeah, Dropbox. So and there was another product called WeTransfer. Do you know that product? There was another product called as Tiny URL. Have you ever used this
Yeah.
Tiny URL?
Yes.
Okay. To shorten the URL, we use this Tiny URL thing, right? So rather sharing the long format URL, we use this URL, right? So these are the some of the products which had hit product market fit where people like that product so much and they recommend the product, right? So there can be some products which has not hit the product market fit, but they were in the market for a short time. Okay, like Google Glasses, right? So that's one thing which didn't really fly well, which was launched like the future of digital transformation, right? So but it didn't go well. So let's talk about stakeholder management. So now we understood lot about product, right? So let's start with stakeholder management. So rather naming it as a stakeholder management, right? I would call it as stakeholder engagement, right? As a product manager, we should engage with our stakeholders. Okay. So how will we engage? I know you guys have, I mean, good experience. So can you guys tell me like what is the product that you are working on and who are the stakeholders and how do you engage with them?
I mean, so basically, stakeholder like internal stakeholders are all the people who are involved in it, like the developers, the testers, the product people, the people from Scrum, BAs, all of that are stakeholders for us. And like I think the best way to engage with everyone, so we can start, basically we generally follow shift left approach, wherein basically we start, engaging with everyone in the team right from the requirement gathering analysis phase. So as you said, I think somewhere in the session only that it should, like when we are discussing the requirements, everyone should be there. So I think, yeah, that's the best way to engage everyone because that way we get the perspective of everyone. Developers have different mindset, BAs have different mindset, testers would have different mindset. And like we want to understand like what will be the closest to the customer mindset. So I think to engage with everyone from that phase as early as possible, it's very important. And whenever the requirements are changing, I think we also need to do like some sort of impact analysis of that with everyone to understand, what all risks it can introduce or like what do we actually want to do out of it. So that is one way of maybe increasing the engagement.
Yeah, right. Any other opinions? Like this is that's a that's a very good um, thing that you have told. Like we need to bring everybody into one room when we are discussing about requirements, and we need to ask questions, right? Like, do you have any point to tell now? So encourage people to speak. Okay, rather dictate, encourage people to speak out, and you also be more transparent with what you are doing, right? So the transparency will help you build kind of a trust, and as well as uh, gain insights and perspectives. Okay, that's a good point, Ashima. Any other opinions, points from your experience? How did you
Yeah.
handle internal
I mean, I was
stakeholders? How did you handle external stakeholders? Yeah.
internal stakeholders, not so much. I was not really responsible. You know, uh, I was mostly involved with external stakeholders. As my like, I was heavily focusing on mostly private research. I was very
Okay.
much in the ground talking to people mostly. That was my uh, external stakeholder experience, whatever little experience I had. So it was mostly either small business owner or supply chain manager, logistics partner, drivers, right, brokers, these kind of stakeholders mostly. So I have absolutely no idea like, about internal stakeholders. Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly it was external stakeholders. And
Yes, sir. So understanding the needs of people who will not directly impact the product, but who will be mostly consuming the product, or who can affect the product development, right? So basically, whom we are trying to sell the product, right? So
yeah,
that is somewhere. Mm.
first 2 days were mostly interviews. And in those
Mm.
interviews, I thought I was wasting my time because I was not getting any. I was told to find a pattern. I mean, they were like we were given our questionnaires and stuff like that. So they just told us these are three sets of questionnaires. You have to find some sort of repetitive friction which you can find anywhere in the forest. Where you can see
Mhm.
there is a friction and it repeats throughout stakeholder. It doesn't limit itself. Right? If you can find that, it's great. And if you can't even, it's great. Just have to find friction anywhere in the process. That's the job. Effectively, yeah.
Yeah.
That was difficult initially. Just trying to figure.
Uh, yeah, it's very difficult to meet a lot of customers and have their opinion, right? So people will not engage.
I think learning for myself, just looking at the slide, I think from an internal perspective, for the most part on my side, is you'll engage all of most of the internal stakeholders through your Scrum ceremonies. Obviously, leadership is obviously when you're giving them a project update. We do that quite often. But for me, what is missing is the external stakeholder section. So the frequency of customer, and I'm excluding business, so just customer, as well as the regulative part for me is a bit of a, just at a glance, is a gap in my world.
Yeah.
Because we deal with business and business obviously represents the customer. But I just, I feel that's a gap on my end in terms of customer engagement. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. So normally at the levels that we are working on, so we the product size that we are working on, we often don't get involved with customers. So that is an important takeaway. But if you look at the broader picture, right? So there will be customer engagement, continuous engagement that is happening. Okay, so it will not be like there will be meetings and there will be demos and um, so customer engagement can also happen through booths that we are going to have where people walk in and they experience our product and we ask some questions and we understand what is that they're talking about and all that. So customer engagement is it is not like if you are having B2B customer, then you are going to directly talk to that customer and understand, right? So and then you are going to take his input and try to build the product, right? So that is how it happens. So that engagement will happen through system demos, product demos, and feature releases. So every feature is released, then you give them and you ask them for feedback, right? So all those things are kind of an engagement that will happen with the customer.
So that's
Right.
that's part of your your obviously when you working on enhancements or it's a totally new project, but when you're already in maturity stage,
Yeah,
that customer engagement piece for me is missing.
yeah, right. So when you are at mature stage, the customer will be mostly interacting with your customer service executives, right?
Yeah.
So you have to gain insights from there. What kind of problems that they are facing, what kind of queries that they are asking, and uh, how is our NPS score going on? So that kind of information will give you the sense of what is customer expect.
Yeah.
And also rolling out the communication to customer, right? So when you have a new release or when you have an upgrade, right? So the communication part should be fluid, like whatever event is happening. So that should also reach customer seamlessly. You released, suppose you have released version 3.0 and now you are releasing 4.0. So this information should be passed on to customers, right? So we are having these features and this is getting released. So have a watch. So
Yeah.
so this is about internal and external stakeholders. So how we generally engage is we have to have regular meetings. So suppose if it is internal stakeholders, right? So you see what kind of engagement is possible. Suppose if you see internal stakeholders like a developer, okay. So suppose if you take developer, in fact you should talk to him like every 2 days or 3 days, right? So if the requirements are, you should have functional grooming sessions, right? Maybe I'll explain that how that can be managed. So if you see, right, so we will have a touch point with customer. So we need to see like how the frequency depends on how much involvement is required from customer, right? So either we are going to meet him one weekly or monthly or daily, right? It depends on how much involvement is required by this customer, right? So suppose if consider yourself as a product owner, okay? Who are your customers? Possibly product manager,
Business.
developer,
Developers.
and engineering manager and designer, right? So and then QA team, right? So these people will be your customers, right? For you, right? So I know you have external stakeholders or external customer, but in general, if you see internal stakeholders, these people are there, right? So with PM, how frequently are you going to connect? You need to group them. Group one, group two, group three, right? So like PM, solution architects, all these people, right? So you need to update what is happening with your product development. What is the execution happening, right? So you can schedule a 30 minutes meeting or 15 minutes meeting to update them every week on what is the situation, what is the bottlenecks, right? So what is the problems and that we are facing now, right? So then you have it separate a different group like a developer, testers, right? So you need to what is the why would you communicate to them? So to explain what needs to be done, right? So then you can have some kind of functional grooming meetings, functional grooming you can call it as. Okay, so this happens every week, right? So every week we are going to have one meeting where we refine our backlog, right, and explain the team about mm, what is that we are going to develop next, right? So and taking their inputs and engaging with them and creating that transparency, right? So this is what is required. Suppose you consider it as group three. So group two, okay. So then you have group three, right? So where you have engagement with the designers, right? So where your designers and solution architects, where you are working on product features, right? What is that you are going to build next, right? So you are going to refine, you are going to understand from analytics team or whatever, right? So basically you have to see that who are all internal customers are there and bucket them. And as you see, right, the information will also be different. What you share with these people is different, right? So you bucket them on what kind of information would they be need, and then schedule appropriate touch points, right? So like every week, every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks, something like that. So coming to external stakeholders, you can plan your communication, right? So what kind of communication that you can plan, right? So I'm going to send out emails or I'm going to take input from them with respect to with using analytics or customer service requests. So you can plan external customers how you are going to engage them. Maybe you have system demos with them, right? So all this can be planned, like how you are going to engage with the external customers. Right?
So is it like giving the project at once and dividing the task and taking updates from everyone? Is it like that or
Yes, sir. So it's a continuous thing, right? So where you get a project or product, so you have a feature, so then you are actually breaking them into user stories and all that. So now user stories, you need to groom to the team, right? As a product owner, that will be your thing, right? So how will you come to this product or feature is when you engage with customer and when you engage with designer, isn't it? So when that's when you break down, and then you need to have an interaction with engineering manager to see if the resources are good enough to develop all this, right? So quality and all that, right? So there will be a lot of stakeholders whom you will be talking to. Okay. So when I turned from an architect to product owner, right? So this was a kind of a shock, right? So kind of shock because every day you will be sitting at least 3 to 4 hours in meeting, right? You will be only in meetings, right? So the problem that I face is in every meeting, uh, I don't go prepared. So there will be some questions where I am not prepared to answer, right? So the solution that we have is at least 1 week in advance, you see what and all meetings are there and your calendar, and then prepare 1 week in advance, like how you are going to handle these stakeholders, right? So that is the preparation, right? It is a continuous thing. You have to be ahead of things, ahead of time, and you need to structure these meetings, pull up agenda. So this is how you conduct your meetings. Be specific. What is that you are going to talk in this meeting, and be measurable. So what are the measurable outcomes that you are looking forward? And then What is that? A about? It's about. So R is about time. Yeah, make it achievable. Like suppose if you have 10 things to discuss, so don't discuss take all the 10 things. So take one or two things which is achievable in suppose 30 minutes. So only two topics are achievable, then take that as an agenda, right? Achievable. Okay. So you fix this R, I forgot about it. So there is a framework called SMART. You can actually
I think
Relevance.
look
relevant,
into this.
sir.
Relevance.
Relevance, right? So basically, if you are providing the relevant information or you are providing excessive information, right? So suppose if people are talking about, if the agenda of the meeting is about to discuss whether we need to release the product or suppose it's a go no go meeting, okay? Then you are talking about a small bug and you try to eat up the whole 30 minutes talking about this bug. This is not relevant here, right? So you don't pick that topic over here. So you just discuss about whether you are happy with it or you are not happy with it and give your reasons. That's it, right? So don't get into small things when you are talking about in a bigger forum, right? So those are all the kind of etiquettes, I would say, meeting etiquettes that we need to follow. So when we are dealing with stakeholder engagement, right? Otherwise, it will be frustrating to people who are in the meeting. I know you guys are seniors and you know these things. I am just trying to reiterate like how to how to be more specific and how to create an agenda, right? So initially, I was very poor in creating an agenda, right? So when I'm going to talk to a stakeholder, I was not clear. I used to build story in front of him, but that is wrong thing, right? So later I understood that what is that I am expecting from him. I need to be very clear. So I want him to provide me resources. I want to buy some more time. I want to tell him that okay, this cannot be delivered at this point of time. So so what is the agenda that I'm going, right? What that should be really clear. So only then things will be fine. And so these are some of the ways that you manage your engage with your stakeholders. So here, if you want to take up the bullet points, it's about like tailor your message, speak with evidence, and share updates and blockers. Everyone must win, right? So so never ever you keep this in mind, like what's in it for you, right? So what's in it for you? It's very important thing. Like everybody thinks about what's in it for me, right? So if you can figure out that what's in it for you, then you'll be able to win the conversation. Okay, so to win the conversation, you should communicate what's in it for you, right? So that's important. Yeah, this is about strategies that you can think about, like tailor your message audience for better impact. So when you're when you're talking to C-suite or when you're talking to business head or somebody, right? So you tailor your message. You just have to tell like it should be like elevator pitch. You talk about the impact rather the whole story. They don't have time to listen to your story, right? So make it crisp, concise, right? So as you see the audience, you change the tone, you change the way you communicate the message, same message, right? So and also on how much time that you have with your audience and what is that you are trying to achieve in that time. And so uh, if you have enough data to convince him, if you don't have enough data to convince him, don't go to him at that point of time, right? So collect all the data. It's okay to postpone the meeting and it's okay to not to get into conversation which is like half cooked, right? So rather you can skip that meeting and you can talk when you have a lot of data that whatever you want to achieve, right? So And also you can ask, suppose you have given some kind of objectives, right? Or you have communicated you have communicated what you wanted to tell. You can have cross questions, like to see that if they have understood what you have, what you wanted to deliver, right? So this kind of like you can ask them, like you can ask them to summarize, or you summarize what the communication that you have put across, right? You try to summarize that and ask for their understanding, right? So why do you think so, or whatever, right? So that will help to be in the same page, right? So these are the things that you should understand. So influencing, persuasion is the most important thing when you wanted to lead a team without power. And product managers doesn't own any team, right? So you only have to convince them through your persuasion. You basically neither the developers nor the designers nor the mm, people who are like engineering managers, nobody is reporting to you, right? So you are an individual contributor, more or less. So you think about how much persuasion and influencing skills that you would require to move somebody to do something. So these are few takeaways. So building, aligning, prod and driving impact is product manager's job. Follow the product life cycle. You understand idea to growth. Okay. So sometimes you might be in a stage of where your introduction stage and you are frustrated why it is not growing, because that time you need to understand we are not in growth phase yet, right? You cannot compete with a competitor who is already in growth phase, right? So the expectations that you have with yourself and your product, right, that will keep you calm. You know the situation around you. Otherwise, you will be in full pressure, right? So why it is not working? It should start flying. When you are still learning to crawl, you look at somebody flying and you think like, okay, why is this product not flying? So it's not flying because you are at a different stage of the product development life cycle, right? So you are yet to go there, right? So that is something that you need to understand. So write clear PRDs to ensure seamless execution. So this is not something that we discussed. Only the problem statement, the positioning statement discussed. So we'll be deep diving into this part when we also understand the uh, when we understand the data part and we understand the design part thoroughly. Then we will formulate a problem and then we will go through step by step. Okay. And then we understood stakeholder engagement. So how we need to collaborate and communicate. Okay. So great PMs don't build products, they build businesses. So basically, you can build great product, but without good business model, you are bound to fail. Without sustainable models, without sustainable business model, you are bound to fail, right? So PMs are not about building great products, but they are also responsible for businesses.